Good, finally sorted out the problems. My apologies for the slightly late start. Let's go to a bit of that. And mute that one, and then we're in business. Perhaps a bit more volume. Audio a little low for me, yes. Right, I'm not sure why. I had some IP transport stream issues there, my apologies. Right, I have G0MJW, you'll be on first, Mike, followed by GI4DOH, followed by G4FKK, and then G4HIZ, followed by G8HKN, and I take it James is on. Sorry, quick test card from him, G0DQH on the end of the list there. Good evening to all the watchers. Bernie, we missed you on Saturday. Cat 21 went well on Saturday. Thanks to all those who came and contributed, particularly Jen with his amazing Cure 100 demo, which worked very well. Let's just put a bit more coal on the fire. I managed to miss an iframe there, so suddenly the picture missed a beat as I turned the power up. Yeah, thanks to all those that came and contributed. A really good weekend. Don't forget, Cat 16 Part 2 is on Saturday 16th of October, and that'll be a Zoom extravaganza agenda to be published yet. Next thing to talk about is CQTV. The next issue of CQTV closes for press in 3 weeks' time. So please get your thinking caps on and try and write something for CQTV. At the moment, the cupboard is bare, so we'll take anything. Please think about writing an article for that. Last announcement, a couple of people at CAT mentioned that they thought about coming on for the net, but it would be their first time, etc., etc. So what I'd like to do is the first Thursday of every month will be a beginner's night for the net. And on the first round through the net, it'll be first timers only, please. So looking forward to see all those who are too hesitant to come on because of the old timers who are always here and always don't have any problems, etc., etc. So next Thursday, being the first Thursday of the month, the first time round will be newcomers only. So please make an effort if you haven't come onto the net. We'd love to see you. Doesn't matter if it takes you 3 attempts, we want to see you. So let's try that next time. Second time round will be the normal free-for-all, but let's have a first time round newcomers only, please. Okay, without further ado then, I'll pop it round to Mike. I'll add Tony G0AZQ to the end of the list and publish a list on the web in a moment. So G0MJW to take it first, with Richard to take it next. G8GKQ.
That's better. I'm wondering who these mythical people are who don't have problems. We always have problems, some form or other. I'd restarted it, so I'd forgot to reset the transport stream, so sorry for the slight delay coming on. Caught me slightly by surprise there, Dave. Anyway, I'm not sure. Is it Richard next? So I'll try and remember that. But in 3 minutes, that's a tough ask. Just a few things to talk about. I'll probably say more on the next round. But I like the idea of the beginners first Thursday. Sounds like a good idea. See how people get on with that. And let's see. I saw a few new faces on the transponder earlier today, so there must be several of you. Right, without further ado, just to show you some things. So, firstly, thanks to Frank. Was it Frank? M0AEU, is it? For the cameras. I didn't expect much, but surprisingly good, actually. These cameras, and it seems that Noel's got one as well, but hadn't discovered half of its facilities in the 5 years he's had it. There you go. But that'll come in useful. It's only PAL, but at 333 kilosymbols, I guess you can hardly tell. It's a bit lower than my usual resolution, but not too bad at all. And handy for testing things like our timings and what have you, so zoom in on the clock or something like that. Oops, wrong way. Not sure how accurate it is, but hey ho. Then I think Martin's going to look at one of these as well and have a go. Right, so what arrived this week? Firstly, you'll see an amplifier. This is one of these cheap eBay 77s DMR amplifiers. Anyway, it arrived, and I was surprised to find inside it a genuine Mitsubishi 60 watt module made in Japan. Now it claims 80 watts, but I guess certain other companies have done that in the past, particularly with amplifiers, and I think you probably can get 80 watts out if you push it. 15 volts and lots of amps, but it works, so impressive. The good thing is I know we won't be troubled by the output filtering because it turns out there isn't any. Now the other thing is you can just see it in the top of the picture. It's this loop thing, and you've got to move a few things around. So the PCB's arrived. It's the one out of Redcom. I'm just going to disconnect something. So that, can you see that? No, not very well actually. Yeah, so what it is I got some PCBs made, PCB way, and I've made one of them up. And I've got a little bit of wire strung up on the bench. And just to prove it works,
proposals and these potential future projects will mesh with HS2 and particularly these.
That's radio 4 and a little bit of loopy wire around the bench. So yeah, not bad. Oh, I'm sorry for audio distortion there if there was any. Right, I think that's probably enough from me for the first go. So I'll pass it on to Richard. Great to see you at... oh, let me put my picture on. Great to see you at CAT, Richard, and great to see all the other people there. It was a really, really good event. I bought lots of stuff. Some of it's behind me there. I've got a really, really good but entirely useless cable TV constellation analyzer, and something that turned out to be a spectrum analyzer, but only a very simple one. But I guess it would be useful for looking at the transponder if you wanted to do that sort of thing. Anyway, GI4DOH, you're next, G0MJW.
G0MJW with the group GI4DOH. Yes, indeed, Mike. It was good to see you at CAP21 and all the others. And remember to turn your your volume down before you start. And Dave, that sounds good. A Zoom extravaganza, so I look forward to that. And I I just think of the old timers for newcomers. As an old timer, I'm a newcomer myself, and it can be a bit daunting to start with. So it's good to give a bit of encouragement to people who haven't quite taken the plunge yet. I can just about psych myself up for it. So what have I been doing? Well, I didn't bring an awful lot back with me. I think if I get round to this is what I want to do. The one and only thing I bought was one of these binocular microscopes that I just very quickly, about 30 seconds before we started, thought, oh yes, I could put that on the bench and show it. That went by hand baggage without any problem. I had checked, and the EasyJet restriction was just the weight, and or more to the point, they say they expect you to be able to lift it into the overhead lockers. Well, it was just a reminder. I'm not as young as I used to be, sort of trying to lift up the bag into the overhead lockers with the microscope in it. It's a fairly hefty cast iron base in it. It did need to be or sort of realign the optics in it. I think I might have got a headache fairly quickly. It's obviously seen good service and the rest, and only took a few minutes trial and error to get that sorted out. So I'm looking forward to using it. I haven't actually done so at the moment because I've been building one of these for those that have read their last Radcom. It's a little loop antenna, balanced loop antenna for tracking down QRM, and I've got pretty awful stuff right across 80 meters, and I assume top band as well, only whatever's radiating the noise isn't as efficient on top band, and certainly my receiving aerial isn't as efficient. So hopefully I'll be able to track it down with that. So that's taken a bit of time and effort. And getting our local club magazine out. I know what you're talking about, Dave. I didn't have a lot to start with, and I've had to pen most of it myself. But that went out earlier today, so I can relax for a few days before I begin the next one. So probably enough for me for one over. It really was good to meet you at CAP 21 and all the rest. Normally, when you turn up somewhere for the first time, it takes a few minutes to sort of break the ice, settle in, get to know people. But where people come up behind you and say, hello, Richard, the advantages of TV and the rest, it was certainly good, and I felt they're very welcome, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an excellent weekend, a great break for me to get out for once for quite a long time. I look forward to the next one. So pass it round to New Martin G4 FKK with the group. This is GI4 DOH.
Oh, that's good. Went first time. Yes, I rather like Richard, Dave. I was laughing about all these old timers who never have any problems. That's there you go. But yes, it is very daunting. I used to do amateur television in the 1970s, so I was a bit used to it then. But building up your nerve to come on this net, it took me a couple of weeks. I was on for a couple of weeks, but I didn't come on the net because it's a bit awe-inspiring seeing all these famous names like Dave and Mike and Noel. So yeah, that's a really good idea, Dave. I shall look forward to that next week to see that. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed CAT 21. As I think most of you know now, I had a lot of family things going on here. But it did feel pretty poor when Richard's come all the way over from Northern Ireland to make CAT 21. So, but there we go. Right, yes, so I haven't got a great deal to demonstrate here today. I will show one thing in a minute, but Mike, that new camera, I think that's fabulous. So when you zoomed in on the bit of test gear on the back or wherever it was, that was really clear. So PAL or not, it's pretty good. Oh, I see. Yes, I didn't understand that either, Dave. The biggest Rick. Yes, speaking of risk, it was the spinning disc entirely. Funny enough, I didn't make one myself, but John, G4FIT, and me cobbled together a spinning disc camera. I can't remember now if it ever went on the air. I don't think John had transmitting gear, but I may have lent him my 70 SEMS AM transmitter. I honestly can't remember. But it was good fun building it, and it did sort of work. The little amplifier looks very neat, and with a genuine block in it, that's good. And I was very impressed with that loop in the shack, Mike, on 198 kilohertz. I'd get a terrible racket if I had a long wave radio going on in the shack. So that's very good. And Richard, you've made good progress on that loop. I've got a rotatable magnetic loop, a broadband one. It's not tuned or anything, can't transmit on it. And I bought that for exactly the same reasons, Richard. Top band was getting very noisy. When I moved in here, there was no noise on top band at all, but by about 10 years ago, it was really noisy. And the loop was good. You could turn it around and get rid of some of the noise, but the noise it was coming from everywhere around here. But what I realized was I now use that loop to peak the noise up, and then I phase it. I use that noise to phase out the noise on the main aerial. So top band and 80 are still pretty much usable here. It'll take an S8 noise on 80. I was testing it this morning down to about S3. But the key thing is the signal to noise ratio is much better. So it's not a waste of time making that, definitely. And okay, the EasyJet baggage. Yes, I used to fly with them an awful lot when I was based in Madrid, and it was very free and easy in those days. But then it got quite strict. Yeah, Richard, my loop's a Wellbrook loop. And you're right, not terribly portable. And the microscope looks good. So the only thing I was going to show, Mike's got this going as well, I think. I can't remember quite where I've put it. Oh, there it is. Have I got audio? I think so. Let's just have a look. Yeah. Probably most of you actually seen this, but this is a piece of software called Quirks, or QIRX, which I've been using to listen to the cricket on today rather. I think it was mainly designed for DAB, but it's now got ADSB and single sideband and FM and AM and that sort of thing. It's all free, and it works with the usual RTL SDR dongle as well as other bits and pieces. I won't spend ages on that. But Mike, I'd be very interested to know how you got the server going. I looked at their explanation of how to get it running on Linux, which I assume is what you did for your Raspberry Pi 3. But I decided it was all too much for the short time I had available today. Right, that's talking of short time. That's more than enough time from me. It was going to be Roger, but now I see you've put Jen in. So G4HIZ to take it if you're ready. This is G4FKK standing by. This is G4FKK standing by.
Oops, let's mute this. Good evening, everyone, and nice to be on the net again. G4HIZ and the QO100 net. Thank you very much, Martin. That was interesting what you were saying there. Just before I forget, Madrid, I spent a fair amount of time myself. I've got a frog in the throat here. Too much red wine for tea. I spent a fair amount of time in Madrid myself. First of all, the event on Saturday, absolutely brilliant. Didn't get much time to look around this time, unfortunately. Managed to misidentify 2 aircraft. There we go. My Air Cadets supervisor would have been nonplussed about that. So we came back on Sunday, nice clear trip, and after unloading the car, dumping everything into the lounge, we then went to a radio event at the Windmill at Willesborough in Ashford in Kent, and unfortunately by the time we got there people were packing away, but I managed to pick up a free item. Those who know it's the old BC221 frequency meter of days gone by. Anyway, what else is there? So basically the last few days I've been putting the stuff away from the event, and I look forward to the next one. It really was good. I don't know if Gareth might be watching, but I have here a filter which I was talking to him about earlier. I think it could be up on the monitor, just about see it. It's a 10 gigahertz band filter and covers roughly 10 to 10.45, and very compact, very nice filter. I was told it was out of an ex-military radar package, but I have a few of them. Okay, yes, it's good to see Richard, of course, GI4DOH, and Dave, M5TXJ. Very nice indeed to see these folks who we've only seen on the web or occasionally on the net. Anyway, I'll pass it along to the next person in line, which I believe is G8HKN from G4HIZ. Incidentally, the number you can see on the side here is the mirror for the beacon, so I'm monitoring it on a second ports down, and the object being to see how it's affected by the various carriers that keep coming up. Okay, so I'll pass it over and I'll be round shortly.
One, two. Plenty of sound. Yeah, plenty of sound there. Might be a bit too much. I'll turn it down next time. Right. Good evening, everybody. And thank you, Jen. And greetings to the QO100 net. Feeling daunted as usual, so bear with. I was going to start with the usual I've got nothing to say, but I'll see what I can do. I've got a new laptop recently, Dell one, and one of the problems I had when I first set it up was on this chat on the Spectrum monitor, in that it wouldn't scroll up, and the only way I've solved that is by zooming it down to 80%, and that seems to have done the trick, but why it should do that on this new computer and not on previous ones I do not know. As I haven't got much to say, I'm going to show the biscuit tin project, which I'm sure you're all pleased about. People on HV have seen it already, but it's basically my efforts to tidy up a shelf behind the monitor which had the Pluto and a couple of preamps and a coax switch, etc. And because I couldn't find a box, I utilised a biscuit tin. That out, and then I'll come back and tell you what else is happening. So hopefully, I want it to tidy up the signal path from the Pluto to the EDUP Wi-Fi amplifier via preamps and filter and coax switch. They were all sitting on a shelf in a bit of a mess, so I thought I'd put it all in a box. Having a look around at Farnell, RS and Amazon, I couldn't find a suitable box at the right price with an open top that wasn't too expensive or on back order. Whilst looking in the loft, I found a Pig Friends biscuit tin, which I thought might be useful. I cleaned up the paper, ready for painting. I painted the tin black, and the tiny hole in the middle there is where the coax switch will be going. This is the box with all the bits and pieces in. Top of the picture is the back of the box. That's the Pluto. There are a couple of small preamps there. Coaxial switch is at the front of the box, which is at the bottom of the photograph. There's a small filter, and on the right hand side there is a power supply socket and two N sockets, one for repeaters and one to go to the satellite via the EDAP for Wi-Fi amplifier. This is the right hand box, satellite output, repeater output, 5 volt power supply in. This is the left hand side of the box at the back, two sockets for the Pluto, USB and power. This is the front of the box, coax switch there's two positions, one for the repeater path and one for the satellite path. And this is the box on the shelf underneath the satellite, domestic satellite receiver, and the 23 centimeters for 1249 megahertz amplifier on the top there, which is not quite completed, or doesn't seem to work. Right, that almost sent me to sleep. My apologies. There we go. Right, the next project is partly to do with radio, because I'm going to replace the loft ladder, and a lot of equipment is up in the loft anyway, so that's what I'm starting on tomorrow. I'm only doing the loft hatch on the catch on the loft hatch tomorrow, so it's just a start. Right, let's see if I can find a test card, and then I'll pass it round to James. Stand by while I find the test card. It was there earlier. Right then. From the net over to James, G0DQH from G8HKN.
Okay, just check I've got audio. Have I got audio? Yes, I have. Oh, good. Right. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Roger. Everything all right with you, I hope. Better put me up in picture. So I can understand newcomers when they have to get in front of a camera for the first time, because I've done this dozens of times, and even now I have to admit that I do find it difficult to do. Not like some of the guys who just come on and they're natural. Anyway, I wasn't here last week. I had an early night, well, we both did, and we took off on Friday morning down to Devon and Cornwall. We ended up in Tintagel. We did the waterfall, and you have to be a mountain goat to do that. So I warn you, if you do go down there, it's a long trek. They say it's half an hour, but it's actually an hour. And we got to the restaurant in the end and had lunch, and then back. We stayed at a bed and breakfast at Meadow View at Buckland Brewer. Highly recommended anyone who is wanting B&B in North Devon and is finding difficulty. Buckland Brewer is about 5 miles, slightly inland from Bideford, but for those who don't know, I actually grew up in Bideford. It's my hometown, and I moved to Southampton some 25 years ago, but still go back there occasionally. And anyway, Mo and I had a brilliant weekend there. Anyway, back to what I was going to bring up. If I go to the other camera a second. I managed to get hold of this Trio R1000 some weeks ago. It's like new, never been opened, and totally not got at, if you get my meaning. And it's in super nick. But I hadn't realised over the years, and I've not operated HF now for some years, how noisy the band is. So it could well be that's the problem. But I thought it might actually could do with by now with a retune. So if anybody knows someone who can do that and send it back in one piece, it would be lovely. It would be great. And also, if I go back onto the other camera again, there we go. There. This landed with me last week. They get in smaller and smaller. This is 12 volts at 27 amps, and unbelievably small, as you can see. So there you go. Anyway, that's about it from me. I think it's short and sweet as usual, but if anybody can help with the R1000, that would be good. It might just be that it's just a noisy band, or a decent antenna. I've got a bit of wires thrown out the window here into the hedge, so that's not terribly good. Okay, who's next on the list? G0AZQ. To take it, if I can get my call sign back up. There you go, and I'll see you all next week, I hope, and I won't be on for the second go tonight. From G0DQH.
Three amps into the PA at 25 volts, and we'll kill the audio, and my goodness, it worked first time. Yeah, I appreciate that right at the beginning, as to the guys that are on regularly never have any problems. And it's certainly been a situation with myself that not even on EY, even on the local repeater, I don't know whether, Dave, you've got any answer to the question, but if I go on EY with the setup that I've got on the ports down 4, which I'm at the moment, and transmit on that, I don't get any RF out. All the little sequencer goes over and everything, and then when it clicks, when it's clicked on to transmit and the sequencer goes over, I normally get an indication on the power meter and nothing. If I change over to Oscar and transmit briefly on Oscar and then come back onto 24/7s, works every time. When I try it out when it's not for real on our net night, which is a Tuesday, it works every time, but it doesn't work on the night. But there you go, that's the way that things are. So anyway, been off for a while. Thanks for letting me in, Dave, and trust that everything was okay. Sorry I wasn't able to get down to Coventry, but I sent my my man down. I sent Clive down there, and hopefully you saw everything okay as far as that's concerned. Right, what have I got written down here? To James, an R1000. No, I'm not familiar with that. I do a lot of repairs on bits and pieces, and seeing that name Trio takes me back a number of years to when I went out to Japan and found that there was a Kenwood HF transceiver which was for sale for about half the price that you could get it in UK. Although I was only a G6, hopefully going to be a G4 in the not too distant future by getting my Morse ticket. When I was over there in Japan, I was working on a dive ship, and we moored up in the dock. I got a taxi driver to say, do you know where this particular place is? We didn't have even access to the internet in those days, but there was a local radio shop, and he said yes, he knew where that was, and took me down to the radio shop. We exchanged money, and I came back with this cardboard box. Different taxi driver came back to the canal dock, and no boat. It had disappeared. Panic stations. So anyway, cut a long story short, we eventually found it had moored up over the other side because the gas bottles had to be charged up, and that could only be done in a certain place. So anyway, enough of that. Brought it back, and a local amateur in a little village called Westmoors near to Bournemouth said that he was very interested in this radio, but unfortunately it was a 100-volt power supply, and so, well, I'll rephrase that, it was a 100-volt input as far as power was concerned, and he wasn't very happy about that. I said, well, that's alright, just put it on the transformer. Oh, well, no, I'll buy it if you put the right transformer in there. So I got in touch with, I can't remember who the local, I think it was Trio or Kenwood dealer was in those days, and reluctantly, and I think it was about £100 they charged me for a transformer. So anyway, we put that transformer in, and it all worked, and he took that over, and I subsequently ran out of time with being a G4 and became a G0. And bought, what did I buy then? Anyway, never mind, that's another story. Anyway, we're working on comparing the Winter Hill, the Ryde, and the new mini tuner. Very impressed with that new mini tuner 101010101, whatever it's called, and that's got all sorts of bits and pieces going with it. But when you go onto the Viva website and click on the top to download the software, no chance. So anyway, no doubt other people will find the way that goes and make it all work. And Jen, yeah, as far as the beacon's concerned, I get 9.3 on a 1 metre dish. I haven't messed with the dish since I put it up, and that seems to be enough to get bits and pieces. And the only other thing that I've got to report is that I've now got a vertical top band and came through from our people down in Portsmouth, and but they didn't have an adapter to go from the 3/8 stud, so that came from a Moonraker, I think, and we've yet to try that out and mount that on top of the Mini, but not to go mobile with it because it's about 2.5 metres high. But we'll make a comparison. We have a top band net on Monday with the locals. Anyway, enough from me. It's a shame that Martin's not on tonight, but normally he is, but obviously he's got fed up with doing other things. So nice to see you all for a while, or nice to speak to you for a while. I wasn't actually going to come on. It was Dave forced me in when I just put a message on the chat to say hello. So I don't have anybody else that I can see that's on the net in order, so I'll put it back to Dave. And I've been told by Clive that I've got to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, otherwise the last of my audio has finished before when I kill me carrier.
Okay, thanks Tony. G0AZQ and the net G8GKQ. Right, let's take the points as they were made. Yeah, I haven't tried the new version of Minitune software. I'm still on version, what is it? 0.9 beta 8_9, which I really like, I understand, and don't need anything more. Your no RF problem, Tony, it sounds to me like a power supply issue. The Lime if the Lime doesn't quite have enough volts, it tries to transmit and doesn't succeed. So check the voltage getting to the Lime SDR during transmit. Should be at least 4.9 volts when you go to transmit. Put a scope on it, you might see there's a dip there. That is probably the problem. James, the R1000, yes, I've had one of those since 1983. Really impressed with it. Mine has been got at. It's got an but I got at it. It's got an FM detector in it, so there's no wide AM mode. It's if you select wide AM, it detects narrowband FM. It's got an LO output on it, so it'll drive a transverter for transmit. But I doubt if you're hearing lots of noise on it, I doubt it needs tuning. I think you've got lots of noise coming in your area, would be my guess. And Jen, a BC221, you've got some boats to tie up or something. I haven't heard of one of those for an awful long time, but I did. I think my father at one time had one. Okay, well, what have I been up to? Well, earlier in the week, I got the Linux community was very rude while I was away at Cat21. They disabled, they changed some of the software downloads, so every software that BATC has for using with the Raspberry Pi needed modifying. So that was Monday's game, changing Portsdown 2020, Portsdown 4, Video Source, Ryde and Winter Hill, so that they all worked again. While I was at it, I released the latest Portsdown 4 release, which now supports all 3 versions of C920. That's the Portsdown 4, not the Portsdown 2020. But all C920s are now supported, and there's a bit of extra support for C525 works with a Lime. Gets right around. Can't remember. One of them works with a Lime, and a C930E works with a Pluto, or vice versa. Haven't quite got those sorted out yet. You can also stream from a webcam, finally. So that was the new Portsdown 4 software release on Monday. Been doing some hardware work. I'm putting together an 8-way switch, one of these jobbers. But I know people had problems with them blowing up, so I wanted to have a look at why that was happening. And I worked out it's probably the line calibration pulse being amplified by the MMIC on there to over 20 dBm, and that blows up the switching chip. So the solution to that is this. Which is a new input circuit. Left hand side, slightly reduced attenuation on the input there, about 10 dB, with a bit of HF peaking to get 5 dB attenuation at 2400. Then through the Sky 65017 amplifier that's on the board, so there's not much change there, but the change I made was put a 6 dB attenuator after the Sky MMIC. Now that MMIC maxes out at about 21 dBm, which blows up the switching chip. So I put a 6 dB attenuator in there. And the whole thing now gives about 3 dB gain on most bands all the way through, and 5 dB gain on 2400. So we're looking at possibly having a new PCB for that. And yes, it is Dave CAD. Nice colours, I hope you agree. Good use of pencil. The other thing that's been keeping me busy is scoring the IARU contest. I've now processed all the logs. There are 100 logs and 85 entrants. And I still can't guarantee what the answer is, Noel, because I know you're going to ask me. But I'm getting there. There's quite a bit of admin to do to check them all, but we're getting there. And the last thing I've been doing, Colin has a case for the Raspberry Pi screen and Raspberry Pi camera that mounts the camera upside down. I'm trying to work out how to switch that in software, and I'm getting there. I've now got it working for H.264 and getting the preview the right way up as well. So some progress with that. So I've waffled for far too long. Back round to Mike, G0MJW, and the net, GHGKQ.
Might take a while to start working. Yeah, very good, Dave. I thought I recognised Dave CAD there on the on the thing that you put on the post. Obviously, we watched the same YouTube videos. Right, okay. Just a few comments. Yeah, Linux changes were the real problem that I had with RTL STR. Mike. He's probably right, the other Mike Richards, in that it's best to install these things from source and compile them rather than use the package. It's true the packages are out of date, but I had hoped it was up to date, which it is, but it puts stuff in different directories and then all the instructions don't work and you have to work out where they are and set out the permissions, and if you're not in the plug hardware group then you have to set and it's terrible. So that's a bit of a trial and tribulation, but as you can see, and to explain what's behind me, it works. So this is RTL STR running on a Pi as a server. It's actually running on the Pi that my VPN runs on, because it's got more than the capability to run the VPN, and it's receiving one of our local DAV multiplexes. And the interesting thing is you can see this ripple all the way along the top, and you might wonder what that is, and I wondered what that was initially. and then I realised what it was, and it's quite clever. It's sort of like multipath, but multipath not as you would see it. Is actually two DAB transmitters on a single frequency network, one of which is at Boars Hill, and another one is at Bampton, quite close to me in Oxfordshire. One is about 14 and one is about 21 kilometres away, and they beat with each other, but the system can cope. And they've got this package got a constellation as well. It's not how we look at it. It's a different way, but it is quite clever. In that these are the 4 constellation points, and these are all the sub-carriers. So it's a good way to look at DVB-T. In a way that we haven't tried, so maybe that's something to learn from them. I don't know. What it will also do is show you a map like this, and oops, these are the 2 transmitters I was talking about in Oxford. So I'm down here somewhere, and these are the 2 transmitters I'm picking up, but actually I'm possibly picking up some other ones as well. So very interesting package, and I was using it to listen to 6 music rather than to listen to anything else. Right, anyway, that's enough of that. Let's turn on that one, and then let's go to this easy cam because we can. Oh no, I've turned it off. Oh no, that's not right. What happened there? Pressed the wrong button. That's what happened there. Yeah, so it is good, and its zoom is wonderful. It's a pity it's only standard PAL. You can see a bit of, in fact, it shouldn't have done that on the hack. I don't know why it did that, because it's supposed to be coming in S video and not, maybe that's still what happens on PAL, I don't know. But you get that funny sort of patterning stuff on challenging video items. Anyway, very, very handy and great. And thanks to Frank for bringing those along, and I think there are some more, quite a few of them about. People must be having a clear out because they're obsolete these days. So there you are. Right, was there anything else apart from dependency? Dave has also got the issue of marking Italians' homeworking contest, so good luck with that. And Richard, I think I would have worked out it was you, even if I hadn't seen your picture, because you do have a very, very slight accent, which is different from everybody else's. But there you are. Price is going up, says Noel. Yeah, they're all over the internet, these things. They're 25 quid typically to 35 quid. So look for, what they call PC something, I can tell you. Oh, no, it doesn't tell you. Anyway, 1600 or something like that. PCR 1600. So definitely worth having. If only you want to use it as a passenger device to turn your own camera around. It's quite good. It's got pan and tilt, so you could always stick a Pi cam or a C920 on top of it and use that. Right, with that, 7-3 everyone, and it goes around to Richard, I think. So GI4DOH, round to you, G0MJW.
G0MJW with the good GI4DOH. Yes, indeed, Mike. I thought you just recognised the back of my head with the Cat 21. Turn the volume down on the right one, and then I don't have to listen to myself. So yes, interesting, the little pan and tilt thing. There are lots of things for me to work on in the future. So I made a little note there to look at that. And one of the other things that I talked about at the Cat 21, I think it was Noel who commented one night about having a PTT switch on the front of your amplifier so you can have everything else up and running, whereas I'm still at the stage where I can't start streaming until I'm ready to transmit, so there's that little delay, which is not good for the heart in waiting to see whether things are going to start up or not. So I'm fiddling with things at the moment as well. And Dave, what you were saying there, I just noticed tonight on the Portstown 4 and the original Portstown that there was an update on the software, so that was duly uploaded. And I'll play around with things at some stage. And I was going to, oh yes, about different cameras and the rest. And thing about colours, I actually noticed on my my own shot earlier. Just wake up out of a PC and get back to where I had been when I was on the other camera. That looks all nice and rosy and colourful, even coming back through the satellite there. I hadn't noticed that before. Whereas in this camera, I look very old and grey. The T-shirt doesn't help, but I must check the settings. One thing I meant to comment on first time round was the efficiency and the level of detail of Cap 21 on the little name tag with the tab art is actually printed on both sides. Not many organisations think of doing that, and of course, as you walk around, the things do have a tendency to twist. So very efficient. Jen, what you were saying about the identifying the aircraft, well, I know of Vulcan when I see one that's quite a few years since I built Airfix kits and the rest. In fact, I looked at some of the ones in the shop and I thought, no, if I do that, I'll not get anything done. And what else was going to comment? Roger, your Peak Creams biscuit tin. You might find that's a collector's item, and if you hadn't painted it, it might be worth quite a lot of money at the moment. And all the rest, you need to check up on these things. And James, you talk from time to time on the Thursday night about places you've been and show holiday snaps and the rest. In Tintagel, that's where I had my honeymoon with Amanda 35 years ago or so. I was all sort of hype and marketing to do with Merlin and the rest, as I recall. And Tony Westmore's, I lived in Poole for a number of years, so I do know what you're talking about there. I did mention at Cap 21 that I had sort of taken an interest and got a price on the 10 gigahertz amplifiers that had popped up, or a mention of them on the UK Microwaves group, and I agreed to go ahead with that, but they also asked me if I needed any SMA relays. Well, that's something that they're pretty much like hen's teeth, and I was offered 4 of them, so I went for it, thinking even if I can't use them all myself. We don't have an RF shop in the Belfast area, so I'll not have any trouble getting rid of what I've got. So that's enough for me for the night. I wish you all best 7-3s and good evening. Hope to see you all next week. And I'll pass it round. Oh, the other thing is the little Bluetooth earpiece, which didn't work for me last week. I powered up half an hour early tonight to make sure I had time to sort it out, and it worked first time. So there you go. It's just because I left things to the last minute last week. So round to you, Martin. G4FKK with the group. This is GI4DOH. Wishing you all a very good night.
Oh, good. It's still working while it's putting a carrier out.
Oh, good. It's still working.
Oh, and it's putting audio out as well. That's good. My setup here has a strange proclivity to mysteriously stop working for no evident reason. But there we go. It's still working at the moment. Interestingly, Mike, because we were talking about this the other week on one net or another, you were talking about something complicated. What was it? Something with packets clashing or something. And I tried your script, which does work very well, and in fact it gives a slightly better picture than I'm getting from the F1 EJP, and also the sound is closer in sync than I can get it with the F1 EJP. You'll notice it is quite a long way out at the moment. But the delay I got on it was enormous. It was about 25-second latency using your script. But I noticed when you showed your clock, assuming your clock's on time, your latency wasn't anywhere near as long as that. So I think we're running the same video card, but probably everything else is different. Anyway, just interesting. Jen, I wonder whereabouts you were in Madrid. I had a lovely time there. I was working for a satellite broadcasting company. Actually, we were setting up to do a similar thing as the satellite radio station in America, the name of which, of course, has escaped me now. So 3 highly inclined, elliptically orbited satellites, giving ubiquitous in-car coverage, etc. So that was very good, and I was offered a 6-month contract and ended up working for them for 5 years. So there you go. And I had a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment in the Arguelles area, the sort of more towards the student area, but it was very nice. And I loved the fact you could get a tube and it turned up when it was supposed to, and got where it was going at the same time as well. Right. I noticed also you've got a Beacon MER of 10.1. I wonder what size your dish is. I'm getting about 9.1 at the moment with a 1.2 metre dish, which I thought, oh, well, that's not bad. And then, Tony, you said you're getting 9.3 on your 1 metre. Clearly, I've got some more tweaking to do. Roger, I was going to say the same thing as Richard, actually. I'm sure that biscuit tin's worth a few bob, or it was, until it turned into something rather more useful. So I don't think you've lost out there, really. And is that teacup in the back of your shack, is that an enormous teacup, or is it just a trick of the perspective, I wonder? And your loft ladder looks the same as mine, and I can highly recommend it. And I didn't know you'd got a new Dell PC. My new one's a Dell. My son decided I should get one of those. And now who was comparing? Oh, it was Tony comparing Winter Hill with Minitune. I was doing the same thing when I got this new computer, and Minitune was winning hands down at first, but in fact it was just this computer. There's all sorts of things you have to, which work perfectly well on the old computer, drivers and settings in VLC and that sort of thing, which worked fine on the old PC but needed tweaking on this one. And now there's not a great deal of difference between Winter Hill and the Minitune. I forget which Minitune I'm running. I could tell you probably if I Minitune. I'm running 1.0, no, 1_0_0. That says O, but I'm running a more recent one than that. It's another beta version though. But as Dave says, the old one works perfectly well. Right, what else was there? I don't know if James is still watching, but yeah, Tintagel's a lovely place. Difficult to get, well, it takes a long time to get there. And the Trio R1000 is a nice receiver, isn't it? I'm not going to volunteer to tweak it, and as Dave says, I don't think you need to. I think everyone's just got a lot of noise. Linux is hard when you don't know it. But I did recently tweak this thing up. I don't know if you can see it in the deep gloom of my deepest shack there. That's an ICOM 735, which I used to use mobile on top band. So and everything in it had drifted. It's all and even the crystals had drifted. So, but it responded well to a good tweak, and Tony say you've got your 2.5 meter top band mobile whip. I'm still running on top band mobile, but with a 4-foot base loaded whip these days, which is on a 4 magnet magnum mount. Did up an H frame and put a magnet in each corner, and that 4-foot one will stay on, and it works very well. It used to be an 8-foot centre loaded mobile whip, but that was rather more difficult to keep up, and the 4-foot version of it is not greatly attenuated. That 12 volt 27 amp power supply looked good, and I like your story, Tony, of you got the rig but missed the boat. Luckily they'd only shifted it a bit, so you got home okay, so that's good. And yeah, Dave, I don't know why. Well, I suppose they all do it, don't they? Change the operating systems at the drop of a hat and make things very, very difficult. I think that's one of the problems I have with Linux. Probably Tim, because I only run it on Raspberry Pis. I have got a virtual machine on my old PC, which runs Ubuntu, but I found that a bit mind-numbing as well. It's just the way my mind works, I suppose, which not very well. Yeah, you're putting the price of those PCRs up, Mike. I thought I was going to get away with a few beer vouchers to get Noel's second one, but he's clearly hardening his rates from what I was reading earlier. Right. I like Dave Cadd as well. Right, I think that's probably it for me. I've lost the plot, really. But yeah, I wonder where you were in Madrid. I was actually based in Madrid for 4 years, and then I had a year working at home on gardening leave when they ran out of money. And they were still paying me, and I was also working for the BBC at the same time with everyone's mutual consent. So that was a good year. Right, back to you then, Jen. G4HIZ to take it with the group. This is G4FKK saying cheerio. I'll watch till the end and see you all next week, hopefully, and look forward to seeing all the newcomers. Over to you, Jen. Seeing all the newcomers. Over to you, Jen.
Okay, Martin. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't spend a long time in Madrid, actually. Mainly the work was elsewhere, but it's working for the main satellite organisation broadcaster in Madrid. It begins with H. And in fact, we went back there just before the pandemic, had a week's holiday in Madrid, and visited the Prado and the Thyssen Museum. Absolutely marvellous art museums. Anyway, recommend Madrid for a visit to anybody if they get the chance. Speaking about the beacon, well, it's sort of ticking over about 10.8, 10.9 at the moment on my system. It peaked up at 11.1, I think, is the most I've seen tonight. I use a 1.2 metre dish, and in fact it has quite a thick plastic tarpaulin over it, which acts as a screen, if you like, makes it look more acceptable. And there's also a plastic pot over the LNB, so maybe we could get even 0.1, 0.2 more out of it. Anyway, there we are. The mount I've got is an Azel mount, and it's quite easy to adjust it in fine steps. So, you know, it's, what can I say? You can turn the spanner of a quarter of a turn and so on to get it to adjust one way or the other. Similar system that I took to Coventry, and in fact at Coventry I adjusted it initially on the narrowband beacon and then swapped over to the wideband beacon, and after that we just got what I would call an acceptable MUR, and it was 10.2 was the best I got. When I initially set it up on a Friday night, it was quite low in fact, and there wasn't an awful lot of traffic on the satellite. It just the sky looked pretty black. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but the next day it was nothing changed, 10.2, there we are. Okay, talking about receiver noise and so on, it'd be interesting I mean, I recently built a Paraset transceiver which works on 80 meters. You can just see it in the background here, and it's a very simple receiver. It uses the regenerative detector EF183, and I found that the noise level is actually lower than on my Yaesu, so it may be worth trying a bit of attenuation on your HF transceiver or receiver, because I think perhaps the SDR radio may be a little bit overloaded by all the signals that are coming in and creating a bit of intermodulation noise. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see, Martin, what your AR88 sounds like in comparison to a modern transceiver receiver. Okay, I'm jumping around a bit here. James, it was very nice to see you at the Chippenham Rally the other week, and complete surprise, but I recognise that voice from over my shoulder, and there we are. Roger, interesting with your biscuit tin. I must admit, somebody gave me a biscuit tin the other day full up with drill bits and taps and so on, and he said someone had given it to him. It was just lying in the corner of the shed. It's alright if you like Whitworth taps and so on, but the actual biscuit tin probably dated from 1930. It was very interesting. Talking of which, I have here a radio that I've made many years ago, and this isn't the tin, this is just a tin that had whiskey in it. So this is the radio. Whoops. It's from the GQRP club. It's actually a transmitter, so all it does, it produces 1 watt on 40 meters as part of this exercise to make life difficult for oneself with low power. Anyway, so that lives in this tin. That's about the only thing I can say about biscuit tins. And yeah, so that's about it really, and it's nice to see you folks again on the net. I was explaining to Dave the other day, with the lockdown situation, my local club had been meeting on a Thursday afternoon, and it was a short drive away, and I know it's a poor excuse, but by the time you got back in the evening and had dinner, you were too knackered to do anything, so that sort of kept me off the net a bit. Anyway, so I'll say 73s to everyone, and good luck with whatever projects you're making, and hopefully we'll see you next week or so, and have more good DATV activity. All the best.
G4HIZ and the net from G8HKN returning. The mug, it must be an optical illusion. It's just an ordinary mug, Martin, and it's only water. Right, I'd like to refer to my notes, Your Honour. I was going to speak to James, but it looks like he's gone, so another time. It's strange that Westmore's got mentioned a few times, because I was down there on Tuesday and visiting people in Dorset, and there and back in the day. Traffic was not good at the bottom end of the M3 and the M27. I was going to tell James that I went not too far away from him at Chandler's Ford. I have called in on him before in the past, but not this time. And also on the way through Hampshire, I go through 4 marks, and went past the end of the road that Mike G8LES lives in, and it was very tempting to pop down there and just have a look at the aerials, etc., and find the house, but of course I wouldn't actually call in on anybody unannounced. There we go. I forgot to mention Cat 21. Yeah, I couldn't make it, and it's quite a long way, but I would have liked to have met a lot of you, but maybe another time, maybe next year, or maybe some rallies will come along. There doesn't seem to be any rallies in the southeast at the moment, so not a lot happening. I don't know if Jen, you had a transmitting station or you were just receiving, because I tried during the day to see the activity and didn't see anything, and there was nothing on the chats, and maybe I had a signal during the day, but I wasn't sure whether there was actually somebody transmitting from Coventry. I was going to mention North Devon, that's games. The mini tuner I've got is the V101P, and St Neots. That's not in the southeast. It's got to be south of the river, Bernie. I've lost my track there. Oh, mini tuner. Yeah, the 1.01P. I used the one before, the 9 something or other, and that works okay. But this one's got the pie chart, so you can see all the null packets, etc. I also got Scan and Tune. Is it called Scan and Tune? Yeah, I think that's the one. But you can have several. You can have several mini tuners on the computer. I think you can only have one on at a time, but you can have them all loaded on. Webcams. My other camera, which does the back view, which is not plugged in at the moment because it sometimes crashes the computer, it's a C270, and it's very cheap. I think it's only about £24. But that works on OBS. I don't know if it would work on the Portsdown, but that's another one to try. I think it's C270. And the pig friends item. Yeah, I looked at it and I thought, well, it's only got a tatty paper wrapping on it. If it had been painted on, I think I might have made further inquiries. But I had to weigh up the cost of an enclosure from Farnell or Radio Spares, which are quite expensive and were on back order anyway, as to whether the pig friends box was going to be worth more than the price of a proper enclosure, which I couldn't get anyway. So who knows, but I don't think it was going to be worth that much unless it was a nice one. Okay, Jen, yeah, you did transmit. It's obviously not when I was watching, and okay, Bernie, I get that. Getting across London from this corner of South London, North Kent, is a big problem with the Dartford crossing. I think that is the lot tonight. Yep, I think that's it. I gather that James is going to have to pass it round to Tony in a moment, and I'm just going to find a test card. Right, G0 AZQ from G8HKN and the BATC Net. AZQ.
I don't have to adjust that, so we'll kill that on there, so we don't get an echo. And yeah, interesting, Roger. That place, Westmoors in Dorset, seems to crop up quite often, and I don't see myself back on the mini tuner. but I did have the audio a minute ago, and I don't see myself on the Ryde either, although I do seem to be transmitting. Okay, because we haven't got... Okay, if we now get... Yes, we have a test card. Right, okay. Us through that switch box. So, right, okay, we're on a different camera now, on a switch box which has worked from time to time. And as I say, as far as West Moors is concerned, it crops up from time to time. I retired from British Airways, I can't believe that it was 16 years ago. And another guy that retired a little bit before me, he was a pilot. I hasten to add, when people say, "Are you a pilot?" I say yes. And did you work for British Airways? I said yes. But I wasn't actually a pilot with British Airways. I only had a private. I think I was licensed up to 8 tons, and I've got a couple of entries in my logbook of twins. But that was all a little bit odd. Anyway, that's by the way. And as far as West Moors is concerned, I visited a retired pilot down in Spain, and over a coffee, his wife just happened to mention West Moors, and I said, "So, what do you know about West Moors then?" And she said, "Well, I lived in West Moors." I said, "Where were you?" She said, "Abbey Road." I said, "I don't believe it." I said, "My friend Henry, G4VLP, lived in Abbey Road. What number?" And would you believe she'd actually lived next door at the same time to Henry. Poor old Henry is unfortunately silent key, but absolutely amazing that you can go. I didn't know John, this particular John. Lots of pilots are called John, aren't they? But I didn't particularly know this John Williams. It was through another pilot that I knew, and he just referred me back, and as I was in Spain I thought, well, I'll look him up. He had an absolutely amazing amount. I think he had about 10 acres of ground. I said, "Which bit do you own?" He says, "Well, you see that as far as you can see down there?" And I said, "Yes." "And you see as far as you can see down there?" He says, "Well, make a square out of that, and that's how much I own." But I haven't seen him for a number of years. Anyway, back to technical things. I'm now working through a USB mic. Let's just make up. Yeah, I have got audio input and a composite video input for the TV picture. Sorry, it's 4.3, but that's the way. And to boost the signal up, I use a little audio amplifier, which I'm using at the moment. But I have actually built another one, which is, I'm just going to look which camera I'm on. This little unit, that's the experimental unit, and that's a TS472 available on eBay from a Chinese supplier for about a £5. I got 2 of them. That was the experimental one. This is the built version. Come on, get it in the way of the camera, that's right. Which runs off a PP3 battery, but the actual current drawn, let's get it in Ryde so you can see it. When you're looking at the camera and you're looking at the picture, it's always the other way around, isn't it? Right, let's move it that way. No, let's move it that way. And there's not much light on there, but anyway, that's built into a little box with a volume control, and highly recommended for anybody who wants to use the USB input, because I've had lots of chats with Dave about the level of audio that you put in, and we seem to have a discrepancy about minus 13 dB and the old 700 millivolts. Whether it's matched to 600 ohms, who knows. Right, what else have I got written down here? Nothing else. Yeah, for those who want to go into the new Minitune 1010.101, as I call it, just watch out that you're not using the original config file. It can get a bit confusing. with the config files because they all got the same name. So, but it's well worth looking at, and I don't know who it was that was mentioned about it, but it's well worth looking at and working out. Right, okay. I think the only other mention was the top band antenna. I've yet to work that, see whether we can get that to work, and we'll give you a report on it next time round. So, I'll give you a test card to sign off with. Except that one seems to have expired. There we go. Somebody else put a test card C up though. Test card C up there earlier on. So there we are. The original test card C, and a little caption down the bottom with my original call sign. And if I change that, let's see if this will. I'm recording this, so I'll see whether it works or not. And change. And there we go. So we got a changeover. So none of your OBSs or anything like that, just a switch box and various inputs on phonos. And just as a finalisation, anybody that's gone over onto Sky Q and has got conned into another £15 a month for this multi-room situation, don't believe when Sky say you can't split the output HDMI out of your Sky Q box, because you can. The only thing that you can't do is to use a two remote controls. You've got to carry your remote control upstairs and then use it on the other TV. So there we go. I'll say 7-3 all. When I said I think Martin wasn't on it, I think I meant Colin. So apologies, Martin, if you were a little bit confused on that. 7-3 all, and we'll catch you next week, I expect. Hopefully we might have somebody else in the shack and we can share the situation. Cheers all. G0 AZQ off and clear.
G0AZQ and the net G8GQQ. Oh yeah, that is a bit loud when I shout. Right. Cat 21, yeah, there were some transmissions, but I think it was who was asking about transmissions, but they were fairly short because it transmitted across the entrance to the hall, and I didn't get a chance to look at any of the aircraft at Cat 21, but I'm not complaining. Biscuit tin construction. It's a long time since I built anything in a biscuit tin. I can't remember what happened to the transmitter I put in a biscuit tin a long time ago. Beacon MER, we did some tests when we were at Goonhilly on the old beacon, on the old 2 mega symbol beacon. As I recall, it was about 17 dB MER was the maximum that was possible, because there is a fair amount of noise transmitted down from the transponder, so it's limited on both the uplink and the downlink, and it's actually thermal noise from the earth. It gets retransmitted back. Roger, I see your test card C is actually a photo of a card. You can tell because it's slightly on a slant, and there is static noise on the grayscales, but good to see anyway. I think, C270 camera, give it a try. C270 webcam, give it a try, it might work. No guarantees, it might work, and it might only work in some modes, but it's not that far off working. Right, good to see everybody on the net tonight. As I say, next week we'll try and encourage newcomers on, and the first round will be newcomers only. Even if it's only one newcomer, it'll be better than nothing. So please do get on next week. And I was saying that people don't have problems, but of course this evening I had problems when I first started. Everybody has problems with it sometimes. So, good evening all. Thank you very much for coming on, and see you next week. G8GKQ closing the net, leaving the frequency clear.